Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Big Chief Outdoors. The whole point of this video today is to show off some of my favorite plastics, also to teach you how to rig them correctly, and also how to fish them and some different techniques of how to use some of the plastics. Alright, so for my first lure, this is just a generic worm. You know, it's got a nice little tail here, good color, especially in clear water, sparkles in it. This actually was given to me by a good friend at a Christmas party. So, all you're going to do for this one is you're just going to take your hook. This is just the generic worm hook. And you're going to run it through the top, like so. And you're going to push the worm up the hook until you get about, this is a longer worm hook, so about right there. And then there's this little flat spot on the worm already there. You can see right there. And you're just going to poke this through and push the worm the rest of the way up and pull this back. That right there is about all you got to do for this setup. Just a generic worm, pretty good for bass. You can different kind of rigs like Carolina and Texas rig to get it to the bottom. And then all you do is just flutter it up and down. So the next one, I haven't really fished with this yet, but I'm hoping that it does really well for me this year, is the Ned rig, which this is just about pretty much the same as the generic worm. Run it through the top, push the rig up the head to about right there, and then pull it out. Just like that. And you've got, the Ned rig kind of has a fluke-like feel to it, where it has this, it tapers towards the end. And all you do with this is just reel it back in. You don't have to, you could jig it if you want, or you can just reel it back in. Just like, you know, a crankbait. Pretty much the same thing. This one's pretty good for if there's a lot of shad wherever you're fishing. Also, crappie. I've had crappie hit these. Pretty nice size crappie. This is just a weighted jig head right here. And I've also attached a spinner to it. Give it that extra flash that bass and crappie love. So this is the same as the other two. Run it through the top. Pull it around. Then you're going to want to run it out the back. And pull it around. Just like that. And then all you do is tie it there. And this is just, you just reel it right back in. Slow, fast, no jigging necessary. The spinner will spin as you reel it back in. And this has a little paddle tail, so it'll swim like a fish. And the weighted jig head will keep it down. This one is a topwater frog. This one has paddle tails, so when you're retrieving it, its feet go like this. And it vibrates the water. It drives bass crazy. So all you're going to do with this one's different than the first three. You're going to run it through the top here. Poke it out right here. Run the hook all the way through. And then you're going to turn the frog around to where it's like this. And there's actually a groove already in the frog right here. And all you're going to do is put this right there, right about there, where it's barely poking out through the groove. I don't know if you can see that. Right there, where it's barely poking out through there. And that way it's somewhat weedless, so you can throw it in the nasty stuff, moss, lily pads, and it won't get stuck. And when the bass hits it, when he clamps down on it, the hook will poke out. All you do is set the hook, and he'll be on the end of your line. Next one, this is a pretty big jig. It's about 3/4 of an ounce, and this is a brush guard. Keep it from snagging on stuff on the bottom. And this one, you put your line through here, and it just basically just bounces off the bottom. It's supposed to imitate a crawdad. This crawdads have like a weird thing on their tail where it flashes when they swim, And that's what these are supposed to resemble. They come in hundreds of different colors. This one's a really good color for like creeks, or if there's lakes with lots of crawdads in it. You want the thing that best imitates the crawdad, especially for smallmouth. You can also rig them with this. It's called a trailer. This one's just looks like a crawdad. This one's brown. It kind of matches this one a little bit. So all you do with this one is you pull your brush guard back, run this through the top, push it around here, and then you're going to just poke it right back out, just like that. So now when you're jigging it off the bottom, it's going to hit like this, but when you pick back up, it's going to have these little pinchers, which make it even more realistic to a natural crawdad. Next one, which is pretty good for smallmouth. I haven't really fished a whole lot, but from what some of my friends have said, this is a really good lure for smallmouth. This is called a tube jig, and basically this is a special tube head that you go, and all you do is put this up inside, and then once you feel the tube head, the weight reach all the way to the top, you pull the plastic back and out, and that's where the eyelet, where you'll hook your line at. That's probably the most simplest lure to rig, is a tube jig. You just stick it up inside, it's hollow inside, and just poke the eyelet through, and the hook's already there. So this one's pretty easy. You fish this same way as just a jig, except this one's called a tube jig. You can put little trailers on it if you want. I've never tried it personally, but this is supposed to resemble like the other jig, where it hits the bottom and it just flaps around every time you pick it up. Next one, this is just a simple grub, good for panfish, crappie, largemouth, smallmouth. I mean, everything likes this. You're going to rig this the same way as the first three, where you're just going to run this down through the top, up the hook, and then poke it out and up the side, the sleeve of the jig head, just like that. And you can also attach spinners like I did on that third one, or you can leave it like this with the big curly tail, and all you do is just reel this one right back in, just like normal, just like, you know, whatever other lure, crankbait, topwater, anything like that. Next one, probably the favorite plastic of my choice, is the Saenko. This thing, I have caught tons of bass on this. This is not my favorite color, but I have caught bass on this. My favorite color, as seen in the previous video, is baby bass. So to rig this, you're going to rig it like the topwater frog. You're going to poke it out like that. Then you're going to run your hook through it. And then you're going to turn the hook. And then you're going to poke this right back through. Just like that. Where the outside hook will run along the rib of the worm. Like that. So it's semi-weedless. It's not totally weedless. You can make it totally weedless where the hook is just like a centimeter away from the outside edge. You can also rig this up, called a wacky rig, which this one is pretty simple. Usually you'll have like a wacky ring around it, so all you do is loop it through there, but since I don't, I'll just rig it the old way. You go halfway through the worm and then back out. Just like that. This gives it a totally different appearance when it's dropping. Instead of like these where they'll just drop, this one flutters like a bird pretty much. It just does that. And the last one, this is called a Freshwater Goby. It's pretty popular on Lake Erie, especially since that's a new species that's come up there. And the walleye love these. I wouldn't fish for walleye with these, but I've heard people try and they actually do really well. And all you're going to do with this is just like the first three. You're just going to poke it You can run this all the way through if you want, but I'm actually going to do it like the Saenko the first time, where I'm going to poke it out the bottom, run it up like this, and then I'm going to find a spot and pop it through just like that. So basically, it's like a Saenko, it's like the swim bait and the Ned rig, but this one has the paddle tail, give it some action and stuff when you reel it back in. And all these lures you can add weight to drop it faster. If you want to be on the bottom, add more weight. If you want to be around mid-level, put 1 or 2 split shot on. But these are all, they're not gonna, they'll sink on their own, but it'll take longer. Except like the tube jig here has the weight in it, especially the jig itself has a huge weight on it. It'll drop really quick. So this is all I got for you today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.